Yes, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are here again, and it's my pleasure welcoming you to Let's Talk Office Politics. Let's Talk Office Politics is our lunchtime business session where we examine different aspects of this subject, all for your benefit, to help you to navigate that tricky terrain at work, and also to help you thrive in your career. I was given a last minute notification there for those who want to join us, to do so and get on board. And so my name is Olatunji Shobodu. You already know that. Your anchor, the coordinator and convener of the Office Politics Champions group or community. And this, of course, is one of the activities of the community. This is the opportunity that we created for professionals and those interested, in this game, those who are really serious about their career, to come on board and let's share ideas about how to really do well, how to realize your objectives, how to get ahead, all right, at work, how to realize your your key objectives, your key career objectives. So we're here again today, and let me say that for access to past editions of this live broadcast, you can check our YouTube channel, Office Politics Champions. You would find many videos there that can help you. I'm sure, whatever your challenge is, there should be something there, to help you. And you can always reach out, to us to see in what way we can support you. So it's another edition. We're here for the next 45 minutes, and we want to make the best use of that time. Today, I'm going to be speaking on a very interesting subject, and I hope that it's one that some of us will want to hear. Because I'm not sure, everybody wants to hear certain things. But hopefully, this will be one of those things that you want to hear. Hopefully, to be one of those things you want to hear. And we're speaking on, playing as a skilled office politician. Playing as a skilled office politician. And, I'm going to start by just speaking to the issue, that word politician, and the fact that I know that, there are people who really don't like the use of that word, okay? They don't like the use of that word. They don't want to be considered politicians. And, you wonder why. But I guess, the key reason is that that word connotes something negative for the most part now, because of what we observe, with national politics or governmental politics. So nobody wants to basically be a politician. But we need to understand what politician stands for. All right. The politician, there is nothing wrong with the politician by himself or herself. The politician is one who aspires for a position of leadership. All right. And within the context of laid down rules. Okay. The problem with the politicians, the generality of politicians as we have come to know and experience, at the national level, at the state government level, at the regional levels, at governmental different levels of, the structure of government, is that they tend to approach it as a do or die kind of thing. In which case, while the rules are there, they always are looking for ways of circumventing the rules, and having their way, essentially, wanting to serve by force, which is quite ridiculous. All right. But we will speak to the subject of the politician, especially in the context of the politics of the office. And I hope you will understand that there is nothing, it's not supposed to be negative, just as office politics itself is not, there's nothing negative about it. It's the way that people have tended to misrepresent it that gives it the impression that it's something negative. It's not something negative. It's a reality that a reality of the workplace, a reality of every organization, and everyone should be prepared, for it. Now, playing as a skilled office politician, what's the point that we want to make today? What are we going to be focusing on? Let me start by saying that I'm going to make broadly, 5 points. I will start with the first, which is that there are 2 kinds of players, all right, at work. As far as the politics of work is concerned, there are 2 kinds of players. And there are those that I would refer to as technocrats. And there are those I refer to as politicians. Okay? There is another class, but they are not players. All right? There are 2 kinds of employees at work. There are those who play, and there are those who stay out of the game, who do not play. We are not talking about those who do not play. For this session, we're talking about those who play, those who acknowledge that there is office politics and who play the game. Okay? Now, there are 2 kinds of players at work, and there are broadly technocrats and politicians. What's the distinction, you would ask? Well, the technocrats are those who place a lot more emphasis on their skills, their talents, all right, their ability to get their work done. Their work now defined within the narrow scope of the responsibility they have been given. There are those who just want to excel in relation to the job description they have been given, in relation to the targets that have been set for them, and they want to excel basically using their skills. There are people who believe I'm competent in this area. This is the responsibility I've been given. I just want to succeed in it. And please, once I deliver, give me what is due to me. They are technocrats. They are technocrats. Now, The politicians are staff as well, a different breed, but they place greater priority or greater attention, give greater attention to the rules of the game, meaning every organization, is fraught, operates a system. That system, directly and indirectly, has rules guiding, all right, the activities of different stakeholders. In every organization, there are stakeholders. The stakeholders, each of them wants something, all right? And so everyone is doing whatever he or she believes to be appropriate in order to, achieve their interests. And so the politician recognizes that there are different stakeholders, that each one has the responsibility to pursue his or her own interests, and that it's up to what each one does or fails to do, that's what will determine the outcome that they experience. So the politicians are mindful of how things are done within the organization. The technocrat is mindful of what is expected of them in terms of contribution and wants to do that and expects that the organization should reward them accordingly. Now, while the technocrat wants their work to be the basis for asking for reward, in which case, once they expect that once the leadership or once management sees that they're doing their work and they're meeting their targets, they should be rewarded without even asking. The politician doesn't approach the game that way. The politician knows that he or she has to make an effort, all right, to showcase themselves as making contributions and, of course, making the demand for reward. So you find that there are different approaches that the technocrat versus the politician uses. Both of them are staff, bear that in mind. At the very basic level, both of them are skilled, all right? It's just that one chooses to rely on his or her skill as the basis for making a contribution and expects a reward. The other is skilled, but looks beyond the skill, situates their operation within the context of how the organization operates, and takes responsibility for asking for what they believe is due to them. Okay, these are some of the, Now, let me make further distinctions. You have those who are technocrats and operate purely as technocrats. So theirs is, yes, I know the politics, I'm not quite excited, but, I will still do what I need to do. And I'm sure that in spite of the game, within the context of the game, I will still make progress. I will achieve my objectives based on that. There are those who are technocrats, but they play as politicians. They are technocrats, but they play as politicians. How is that? They are people who are, yes, they are competent. They know how to get their job done, but their approach to getting their job done recognizes and encompasses the rules, how the organization operates. They have not closed their eyes to how the organization operates. They don't fool themselves into thinking that they can get ahead at work without taking note of the existence of other stakeholders and the fact that other stakeholders may be doing things that can affect their ability to realize their own objectives as well. So in that case, they are more strategic, looking at how best to realize advantage using both their skills and other things that they need to do, all right, to ensure that, yes, they are an integral part and player within the organization. You have those who are just politicians. So if you like, two kinds of technocrats. Then you have the politicians. There are two kinds of politicians as well. Okay, what I'm describing, you could actually represent in a matrix, a 2x2 matrix. Two kinds of politicians. There are those who are politicians, they play strictly as politicians. For the most part, those are the people that you accuse of playing eye service, of being sycophants, of gossiping, playing just the politics. They have put whatever skill, whatever competence they may have, all right, they are operating as though they are not skilled at all. They put so much emphasis on the politics of it, so much so that theirs is all about ensuring they're in the good books of others, ensuring that their names are mentioned in the right places and all of that. They are purely politicians. When you look at them, even in terms of outlook, they don't look like staff, they look like politicians. Because some of the things that a staff will be mindful of, including maybe your dressing, the way you speak, and different aspects of the etiquette required to operate within an organization, they really don't show a lot of respect for it. They believe that as long as they can ensure that they are well positioned and well placed with the people who matter, the people who take decisions, they are fine. Those are politicians, just politicians. And then you have politicians who play as technocrats. They are politicians, but they are trying to build skills. Maybe now because it appears that, things are changing. All right. The environment is changing. Just like maybe it is now. Everybody, a lot of emphasis on technology. More recently, a lot of emphasis on AI. So you have some of those people who have thrived within the organization based on politics and some level of skill. But now they are trying to improve the strength of their positioning by acquiring additional skills. So they want to show themselves to be skillful as well, but they are really politicians at their core. Okay, so you have those four categories when you break down the technocrats into the two groups, when you break down the politicians into two groups. Now, let me share with you what usually would be the experience of each of these four groups ultimately. If you look at those who are technocrats and they play purely as technocrats, in which case nothing else matters to them except the display of their competence, of their skill, the delivery of their targets, they will lose. They will always lose in this game. They will always lose in this game. And the reason is simple. The reason is you can't win this game without having respect for the rules. Have you seen where somebody plays a game and ignores the rules? You can't. That's why they will lose. They will lose because they violate some of the basic, rules of this game. They will lose. Okay? You can't operate as a technocrat strictly. The person will lose. Mostly they lose. And they do so regrettably. Why do I say regrettably? Because they are noted for their competence. Management, leadership, their bosses know that they are good, that they add value. But they've tried to get them to understand that the requirements to progress, to grow, to go up there in any organization goes beyond skill. And the higher you want to go, all right, the less the importance of skill, the more the importance of recognizing the other forces that are in operation within the organization. Okay? So regrettably, management wants to help them. Management wants them to come up, but they are not showing themselves to be sensitive, to be ready to deal, to be ready to accommodate other forces within the organization. All right? And one of which is that they tend to also be lone rangers. It's all about what they are doing, what they believe they have control over, and, but that's not how the organization operates. The organization is still a collection of people, all right? And lone rangers don't win in an organization. Lone rangers do not win in an organization. Those who are technocrats and play as politicians are the ones that win. They are guaranteed to win. Why? Because they know how to leverage the power of their ability to get results within the rules of the operation. So they know what they are capable of doing. Now they are very deliberate in using that while respecting the rules, while taking note of the forces that are at work within the organization. Of the lot, they are the smartest group. They face the reality that this is how organizations operate. But they also know that in order to be relevant, to be respected anywhere, you must bring something to the table. All right? The politics must be played on a foundation of value and contribution within the organization. They know that, and they take advantage of that. I'm going to speak to that a bit later because there is a strategy, that conveys. So they are the winners. Those who are politicians and play strictly as politicians, they are guaranteed to be losers. If they ever look like they're winning, which is usually the problem with some of us, and we see people playing eye service who are psychophans, and they're making progress, we think that, they're winning. But short term, it looks like they're winning. Long term, medium term, you will see how they fall like a pack of cards because they have no foundation, because they don't offer any value, because all they're doing, is like begging for alms. They want to be in the good books of those who make decisions. All right? But you can't stay long in those good books because those are people who, by responsibility, must be on the lookout for value, for contribution. Otherwise, even they will not stay long, in their positions. I mean, imagine an MD who is swayed by, by eye service. When the shareholders are asking you for profit, what are you going to say? How are you going to manage that? All right. So when the chips are down, the scope for winning with eye service with them is limited. It's only for a while. If you really want to win with them, you better add value. You better bring some value to the table. You better bring some value to the table. So those who play purely as politicians, who think they just can continue going around, who really don't have any value, who don't improve themselves, who don't ensure that, their contribution is distinct, is anything to write home about, ultimately they lose. They will be losers. And unlike the technocrats who play as technocrats, these ones, the management will be happy that they are losers. They'll be glad that they are losers, because up till whatever time, they've just been free riding on the system. Nobody, by being glad, what we're saying, nobody is going to regret the fact that, they are not making progress. Okay, it will be up to them to know when to leave the organization, because at a point, except they change drastically, they are not going to get anything, not even from the so-called people that they were playing up to. That's the lot of politicians who play as politicians. Politicians who play as technocrats. Remember, they're the people who, placed a lot of emphasis on their politicking, as it were. And now they're trying to just ensure that, all of their activities are based on, some foundation of value. They could be winners, and it will depend on a number of things. It will depend on, how serious they are about that disposition, about their quest to acquire and upgrade their skills. It will depend on what kind of skills that they are, seeking to upgrade, and the relevance of it to the organization. Okay, those are the things that will determine whether they end up, strengthening their position in the game or not. Because essentially what they will be trying to do is to be like technocrats who play politics, all right, or who are politicians, because those ones are really the winners. So that's the dynamics of, the play of technocrats and politicians. Now, office politics is a game. And the reason why it's a game is clear. It's a game that is only suited for politicians. It's not designed for technocrats. Okay? So if you want to win, you have to be a politician. You can come in as a technocrat, but you had better learn the politics of the organization. There is no way to make an organization technocratic, if I may use that way. There is no way. Why? Because the organization is wired in a way that it comes wired with politics. Why? There are different stakeholders. Stakeholders have different interests. Those interests are often conflicted, meaning if you get 1 naira, I lose 1 naira or something. All right? There isn't enough to go around. And each one has to take responsibility to pursue his or her interest, because there is nobody else who will do so. And at the end of the day, what you get is going to be down to what your interest is and how you played it. And you and I know that we're all not equally skilled from a strategic point of view. There are some stakeholders, they are better, they are better strategists than others. And some stakeholders command a lot more influence than others. For example, the regulators. If you are working in a company that is regulated, regulators command a lot of influence. A lot of influence. I mean, the owners of the business command a lot of influence. They are also in this game, in case you don't know. They're also in this game. Just as you, the staff, are in the game. Management commands a lot of interest. Your MD, as a stakeholder, commands interests that are greater than yours. I mean, his placement, all right, is in a position to do certain things that can affect you adversely and affect him positively. All right? These are the realities. These are the realities. So each stakeholder, and you must see yourself as one distinct stakeholder, must take on that responsibility, a serious one at that. If you are serious about, realizing your interests, the dynamics of that system tells you very clearly that there is politics. Within the context of that system, there is something we must bear in mind as well. It's a system populated by human beings. And human beings, wherever they are, they bring emotion, feelings to the equation. That brings a lot of uncertainty into the equation. Because people act not so much based on logic, they act also based on how they feel per time. Now, that's the kind of system that a technocrat is expecting to reward them, for bringing one thing or the other to the table. You can see that that's asking for a lot. And that's even looking at things from one point of view. Okay? So the organization is a political organization. The environment is a political environment. It's about the pursuit of interests, with everyone knowing that we can't all have what we desire. So we're all supposed to be working. Now, in that system, the politicians seek to win. And they seek to do that by respecting the rules, by respecting the peculiarity of the organization. The technocrat seeks his or her dues, a reward for their contribution. And most times, when they make demands, as they argue their position for meritocracy, in quotes, they are seeking to impose their rules on the organization. You can't do that. You can't do that. You are seeking to dictate to the organization. You can't do that. You're an employee. When you came in, you put pen to paper, you signed up for something. Now, you are the one coming into a system that has its peculiarities. You are the one who is required to ensure that whatever your interests are, whatever your goals are, you recognize the operational context or the organizational context in which you want to realize that. That means you can't come into the organization and be suggesting that you are asking for your dues. All right? Being oblivious or choosing to disregard or to refuse to recognize the environment that you have come into. You'll be asking for a lot. And quite frankly, you'll be unrealistic in your demands. And you won't get anywhere with it because you are probably the only one who doesn't recognize that you don't own the system, you have come into the system, and you are not the strongest player in the game. So it's important to bear these things in mind, and they tell you why you can't, in this game that has its rules, you can't play as a technocrat. You are better off playing as a skilled politician. And when I use the word skilled office politician here, I've tried to kill two birds with one stone. I'm actually making reference to the technocrat, who is of course skilled, who now operates as a politician, as a skilled office politician. That's what I meant. Not that you are skillful in playing the game, all right? I mean, yes, there is something like that. If the technocrat plays as a politician, then he can grow, all right, in the political intelligence skills, which is in his ability to play, that game properly, better as a politician. Okay? So, when you come in an organization, make sure you don't make this big mistake. That's my third point. Don't make this big mistake. When you come in as a technocrat, don't play the game as a technocrat. You see, I love a counsel from the Bible, which says, you are going out. I send you out as sheep among wolves. He said, now, be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. Many of us don't take cognizance of a very important aspect of that counsel. That secret, actually, is a mystery as well. That I am sheep. You acknowledge that I'm sheep, but you are warning me that where I'm going to play, I'm going to be in the midst of wolves. So I need to be careful. And you are telling me that I can't play in the midst of wolves as a sheep. I have to play as someone else. Why? If I play as sheep, I will be eaten for lunch or dinner, as the case may be. He said, you are going out, you are sheep, but you are going to operate among wolves. Don't operate as a sheep. Don't operate as a wolf. Rather, operate as a serpent. As smartly as a serpent operates. And be harmless in the process. Be harmless in the process. That's the strategy that wins. So one day I'm going to go into detail about how that strategy applies. But just to say today that you see why a technocrat cannot win. Playing as a technocrat, you can't win. That is, you are going into the game where there are other stakeholders who are seeking to realize their interests. They are like wolves. And you are playing as who you are. No, you can't. How do you expect to win? How do you expect to win? Because the nature of that game, in playing that game, you must recognize the nature of the stakeholders. The reason that you cannot operate as sheep is because there are wolves as stakeholders in the game. And if there are wolves, it changes the context. It defines the context. For you to ignore the presence of wolves is to play stupid. For you to think that the wolves are insignificant as bona fide stakeholders in the organization is to play plain stupid. And you should blame yourself when you lose, because you will lose playing the technocrat card. Your skills alone just won't win. That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying. You have to be wiser. You play, let the people think that, the technocrat is the one playing, but you know that you are not playing a technocrat game. Your strategy incorporates the fact that these are the kinds of people that are on the field of play with me. And this is how they operate. So I have to operate differently. The same thing with the politicians. Those who are politicians and they play as politicians, they are also stupid. That's why they lose. That's why they lose. Because the same way that a sheep hoping to win where wolves are present, the same way a wolf hopes to win where sheep are present, he can't play like a wolf. Why? Because everybody knows you as wolf. If you play like wolf, imagine, if we know wolves are coming, are we going to stay and fold our arms? No. No. If he plays as a wolf, he will lose because he won't be able to catch anybody. He won't realize its interest. That's how this strategy works. It's very simple, but we don't always think about it like that. That's why the technocrat playing as technocrat will fail. The politician playing just a politician game will fail. The only two that have a chance of succeeding, and one of them is guaranteed to win, is the one guaranteed to win is the technocrat who plays as a politician. Nobody was expecting him to play as a politician. And the politician who's playing as a technocrat, because nobody is expecting him to play as a technocrat as well. Okay, let me speak to one more thing, or very quickly, two more things before I call it a day. And, I want to say, when you think about all that you have said, you are likely to ask, so what is fairness about this game? This game is not fair. We want to come to that conclusion. I mean, how does one survive here with all of these seeming complexities? And quite frankly, it's straightforward thinking. It's nothing complex, okay? So the issue of fairness. And I will leave this with you so that you can think about it, is the one who is unfair is the technocrat that is playing as a technocrat, the politician that is playing as a politician, both of them are unfair. Both of them are seeking to promote injustice within the system. Why is that the case? Because both of them, one is seeking for the game to be played to favor them. That is, just look at what we contribute. Don't look at any other thing. Forget how the organization, the makeup of the organization. That's what they're saying. If you say we should just follow what the technocrat wants, that my work should speak for me and all of that, that's being unfair. That's being unfair. That can be the case because you are not taking into consideration, how the system is wired. You are asking us to rig the system in your favor. The same thing with the politician that wants to play, thinking that it's all about knowing people and all of that and just, being funny all over the place, and is not bringing any value to the table. That also is asking us to be unfair. Because if nobody is adding value to the organization, there won't be an organization in the first instance. The organization exists, whatever we say, on the fabric of value. All that is happening is that we are trying, to create value within the context in a way that accommodates the peculiarities or the realities of the fact that there are different players, there are different stakeholders. That's how it is. So the ones who are really being fair in this game are those technocrats who play as politicians. They show that they have an understanding of how the system works. And therefore, that's whatever they have to add, to offer, must be done within that context. Also, those who are politicians who have now realized that it's important for me to build a value-based foundation if my politics, is to make any sense or is to produce results for me. Again, they have come into the realization that there are two elements, that are important in the way every organization operates. Those are people who are fair. And by the way, it is also the responsibility not of the technocrat or the politician to ensure fairness. It's the responsibility of management, it's the responsibility of leadership to ensure that none of those parties rigs the system. My final point is this. I remember while I was getting, prepared for this session, a counsel, that we used to hear when we were in the university. And, you would often hear that you shouldn't only go through the university. You should allow the university to pass through you. Don't just pass through the university. You should also allow the university to pass through you. That is a wholesome university education experience. And I'm sure that those who pass through and allowed the university to pass through them ended up gaining far more value from going to the university than those who are only focused on going through the university. That's the way it is. With you going into that organization and wanting to pass through that organization without wanting the organization to pass through you. You want to pass through the organization on your own terms. You don't want, all right, the environment of the organization to deliver its own impact on you. And guess what? In the end, you would have shortchanged yourself. Those who play the game are according to how the organization is wired, the rules, of the game, end up with a more wholesome experience, career experience than others. And they often have better stories to tell. And they end up being people who have a lot more value to offer. All right, as they proceed. I think it's a good place to stop today. Let me thank everyone who has joined. If you do have any questions, you may want to put it in the chat, or if anyone still has 1 or 2 minutes to say something or to ask a question, I think it would be unfair not to allow someone who wants to ask a question to do so or to make a contribution, given that you have taken the time, to show up for this session. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. Do we have anyone who wants to say something? Just a minute or two. All right. Chiso, thanks for showing up today. And Mr. Oluwatosindeji, thank you for joining. And Fred, thank you. Fred OJ, thank you also for joining. We're here every lunchtime on Wednesdays, 1 p.m. to 1:45 p.m. And it's all about office politics, how to navigate, how to play and win the game that is going nowhere, that remains in every organization, and each one must take responsibility to play. And when you play to win, and you really can win. You really can win. All right, so enjoy the rest of your day and week. And it's been a pleasure leading the discussion this afternoon. And I hope you are anyone who is yet to join the Office Politics, group, Office Politics Champions group. Please feel free to do so. I will put the link here again, and we look forward to seeing you there. For now, the group is still free in terms of membership, maybe someday that might change. All right. So I've put in the link there, and I look forward to welcoming you. And please feel free, share it with your friends. I'm sure you have friends, who you would like to be more empowered, all right, for their career journey. And be rest assured, you can't succeed as much as is possible without political intelligence. It's just impossible. It's just impossible. All right. Thank you very much. God bless you. Bye-bye.